Section 6.5, the method of sealed bids. This is a method for dividing up discrete assets that either can't be subdivided or at least better left whole. Typically this is things like houses, cars, pieces of furniture, etc. You can't divide any of the items into pieces without destroying the item. This is also my favorite method. Once you understand what is happening, it's not particularly complicated, and I can easily envision situations where I might use it. This method is called the method of sealed bids because to preserve the objective of fairness of the outcome, all bids must be sealed. It is essential that none of the players know the bids of any of the other players until after their own bids have been made. Step 1, the bidding. Each player makes a separate bid in dollars for each of the items being divided. Usually, each player writes all of their bids on a piece of paper and puts the paper in a sealed envelope, thus the name method of sealed bids. None of the bids are opened until after all of the bids are in. Step 2. Each player's bids are totaled and then divided by the number of players. This is the fair share value for each player. This fair share value is usually different for each player. When I do these problems, I make a table with all the values in it at this point. It makes the rest of the problem much easier. Step 3, allocation. Each item is assigned to the highest bidder. At this point, the items have been distributed, but they may not have been distributed at all evenly. This will balance out as we settle up the money in the next two steps. Step 4, first settlement. For each player, add up the bids for the items they received and subtract the total from their fair share amount. At this point, some players will owe money to the estate and some will be owed money by the estate. Any player who is receiving items whose total value exceeds their fair share amount owes the estate some money. Any player who is receiving items whose total value is less than their fair share amount will receive money from the estate. All of these amounts are calculated at this time, and all of these amounts are put in what I call the money line. This line shows the amount of money needed either to or from each player to balance out the value of the items that each player will receive. Usually, the players as a group have paid more money into the estate than they are getting back out of it. This is called the surplus. Now let's use this method in a couple of examples. I'm going to use Excel because I really think it's the most effective, efficient, however you want to put that way to do this. Alright, Anna, Belle, and Chloe are dividing 4 pieces of furniture using the method of sealed bids. The table to the right shows the players' bids on each of the items. Complete parts A through D below. Okay, Anna, I'm going to type their names in first. Belle, Chloe, and then the items. Okay. Now the way that this works is say I type in a number and hit enter, it moves down, right? So that's why I work down that column one at a time. Alright, there's Anna's items. There's Belle's items. Chloe's items. Alright, and we need to total them all up. So if I highlight them all and then highlight the next row below, come up here and hit the sum button, bingo, I get the totals. Alright, so that's the total. Now we're going to put in FS for fair share. The fair share for each person is their total divided by the number of players, which is 3. So I'll type an equal sign, highlight the total, divide by 3, hit enter. You can do that in each cell, or if the cursor changes so it's highlighted on just that lower corner, hold down the left mouse and drag it. Now I've got the fair share for each one of them. Alright, now the next thing is to decide who gets each item. So for each, as you go across, whoever's the highest bidder for that item, like this first row, the vanity, the highest bidder is Belle. Let's see, for the desk, the highest bidder is Anna. For the tapestry, it was Chloe. For the dresser, it was Chloe. Alright, so then we need to get the total amount for each person is winning the bid on, right? Anna wins on $180 worth. Belle wins on that $300 for the vanity. And Chloe, that adds up to $770. Chloe's items that she's won the bid on add up to $770. Okay, if you look at this point, Anna has $180 worth of stuff. Belle gets $300 and Chloe gets $770. That's not even close to fair, right? So what we're going to need to do is figure out what kind of money it's going to take to balance that out. So I'm just going to call this next row money. And for each one, what you do is equals, and it's the fair share for that person minus the value of the items that they are getting. Okay? So in this case, this 150 means that somebody's going to need to give Anna $150 to balance this thing out and make it fair. Okay? Belle gets 0 because her fair share and her items are exactly the same. See that? Chloe owes $370, that's why it's negative $370. Okay. Then we get the total money here. Alright, and all we got to do is we use the sum key again. If we highlight across those three in one more blank cell and come up over here and hit the sum key, there's the total money. And if you've ever had an accounting or a bookkeeping class, you will have talked a lot about debits and credits. And one of the things that happens is you have to be careful from whose perspective or from what perspective you're talking about money. In this case, this minus 220 is from the perspective of the players. Anna's going to get 150, Chloe owes 370. The total is that the players as a whole owe $220. But that, from the perspective of the estate, that means the estate is making $220, right? It's the opposite. Okay? Then we want to figure out the average surplus, and that's just the surplus divided by the number of players. Okay? Alright. 70. Now we need to round that to the nearest penny because we can't pay fractions of a penny, right? So I'm just going to type 73.33 right over the top of that there now that I know it. And you can copy it to the other two. Okay, we are getting very close to done with this thing. We know who gets which item. We have the money to balance that out. We've figured out the average surplus. All we have to do now is figure out the final settlement. And that is just going to be the money that was owed to balance things out plus the surplus is the final settlement. Right? So now we're done. If you were asked, so for the items, Anna gets the desk, Belle gets the vanity, Chloe gets the tapestry in the dresser. Anna also receives $223.33. Belle receives $73.33. And Chloe paid $296.67 into the kitty. One thing that's really cool about this is the way this works out, because this surplus gets divided back, every single person here actually gets better than what they thought was a fair share, right? Belle thought $300 was a fair share, but the value of her share, in her opinion, comes to $373.33. That's $300 for the dresser and $73.33 for her share of the surplus. It works the same way for both Anna and Chloe. Each of them gets $73.33 more of value than they thought was a fair share. Isn't that sweet? Question 2. Anne, Belinda, and Clara are college roommates. The school year just ended, and they're getting ready to move out of their apartment. They talk to their landlord about getting their $1,200 cleaning deposit back. He tells them there are 5 major chores that they need to do to get their cleaning deposit, or at least most of it, back. Okay, and this table lists everything that they're told. The chores are clean the bathrooms, clean the kitchen, patch the walls and paint, shampoo the carpets, wash the walls. And what we also have in here is the amount of money for which each of the roommates is willing to do the task. This is what's called a reverse. Okay, this is a reverse bid, and so instead of bidding to get something in a way, you're bidding to not get something. All right, so instead of the high bid here getting the item, the low bid here does the job. Okay, let's do this one again. So our players are Anne, Belinda, Clara, and in our reverse auction or reverse bidding here, our tasks are the bathroom, the kitchen, I'm going to call it PP for patch and paint, the carpet, and the windows. And bids 120, 85, 180, 80, and 90. Belinda bids 80, 80, 170, 110, and 70. Clara bids 75, 70, 210, 100, and 100. We highlight all the numbers with one extra row, hit the auto sum. That gives us our totals. Again, our fair share is the total bid for each person divided by the number of players, which is 3. Drag that over. There's our fair share for each person. Now we have to remember this is a reverse auction, so the person who gets each one is the low bidder. So Clara gets the bathroom, Clara gets the kitchen, Belinda does the paint, and Anne does the carpet, Belinda does the windows. Okay, let's figure out the total for the items. So Anne's add to 80. She's only got the one item of 80. Belinda's at 170 and 70 is 240. Claire's at 70 and 75 is 145. Alright, the next thing is our money line to figure out how much money it's going to take to balance things out so this is fair to everybody. And again, here we have to remember this is a reverse, right? So the fair share was that everybody does 180. Anne's fair share, she does $185 worth of work, but she's only done 80, so she's going to owe, right? So what you do for this is you do the items, the value of the items minus the fair share. It's backwards from the forward one. So the reverse auction, this one's also backwards. Alright. Now, we're going to need to figure out our surplus again. So we add those up across there and click auto sum. Remember now again, this is not the surplus, this is the total money, and it's from the perspective of the players, right? So the surplus is the reverse of that. The players are going to pay 75 extra into the estate, so the surplus is 75. 3 players, 75 divided by 3 is 25. So they're each going to get $25. I guess we can call this average surplus. Alright, now we're ready for our final. So, here's our average surplus plus the money line, just like before. So this time, Anne is going to do the carpet, and she's got to kick in $80. Belinda is going to do the paint and the windows. She's going to be paid $95 for that. And Clara is going to do the bedroom and the kitchen, and she's going to kick in $15. That's it.